Good evening. My name is Richard Cream, and I'm Chair of the Permanent Public Building Committee. Welcome to the October 7th, 2024 meeting of the Permanent Public Building Committee. Under Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, issued March 12th of 2020 and in effect until the termination of the emergency, meeting of public bodies may be conducted virtually, provided that adequate access is provided to the public. On March 29th, 2023, the remote public meeting provision was extended through March 31st of 2025. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded via Zoom and will be uploaded to the town's YouTube channel for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. This evening, the following members will be participating remotely: Stuart Chandler, Bob Dermody, George Kent, Roy Chevaletti, and Erwin Silverstein, and I as chair. All votes will be conducted by roll call and recorded as such in the minutes. Which brings us to the first agenda item, which is the minutes of the September 26th, 2024 meeting. The chair is not aware of any comments having been received from any committee members regarding the draft circulated earlier this month. So if that still is the case, we can deem the minutes to have been accepted by the committee and filed with the committee. May I make that assumption? Looks like I can, based on silence. So we will move on to our next agenda item, which is the Emery Grover project, construction update, and change orders and invoices. So with that, Ken, I'll turn the microphone over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start with some of the recent pictures. These are not necessarily 100%. The work's not necessarily 100% complete, but this is the north portico. The trim's been installed. All that trim is now white to match the interior. Typical office with the furniture layout. The furniture install went fairly smoothly. A few odds and ends, but they did a nice job. Some of the typical filing cabinets and some of the storage areas. Look at the front facade. We're still waiting on a permanent set of rails on those stairs that you can see in the corner there, and the planters in the front steps, which you wouldn't have been able to see in this picture anyways, but we're still waiting on the planters.
Hey, Ken.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. Two quick questions for you. One is, was those filing cabinets, that was lower level basement area?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And on the stairwell, at the sidewalk there, do we have to do railings along the sidewalk because of the slope?
Yeah. Nope. Just on the technically just on that one stair that you see there.
I know the stairs. Yeah, I just didn't know if we had to do it on that outer edge.
Technically, we don't have to do the lower stair, which is 3 steps, or that little retaining wall that's to the northwest of the north portico, but we're going to install rails on those anyways. We're still trying to find a reasonable, shall I say, supplier for those stairs,
and
for those rails.
Stuart, that pathway you see there is less than 5% slope, so it's handicapped accessible but does not need a rail.
Yeah, I was just thinking a downward slope because of it was one of the other projects, but I thought because that you could step off of that and roll down, there was an issue, but probably not. Thanks.
I had a quick question about that area too. Those steps go down to I think there are 2 parking spaces there.
Three down below, correct? Yes.
Right. Now, are those 3 going to be handicapped accessible, or are they just for visitors, or
all the handicaps in the back, George?
Are they for visitors?
Or they would be for visitors or staff. It doesn't matter. Anybody but St. Joe's parents.
I see. I saw that sign. I thought that was interesting.
Dan had those made up. He's also got bright red orange warning stickers that are about 2 foot by 1 foot maybe a little smaller than that. They can slap on the driver's side window, and they're a bitch to get off.
Yeah.
So he's got those ready and willing to slap them on.
I have one other comment, Ken. I know a guy who's in the rails business. So if you want to give me a call tomorrow, I can give you his information.
Actually, or you can just email it to me, George.
Okay, that's
Just
fine.
email and I'll pass it on to O'Connor and they can go through. That's the best way we're gonna go through that. Yep, that's
Yep.
fine. Please do. Please do.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So back to there's the door again. That's the break room kitchen. And that's all I got this month. Not a lot. Obviously, the construction is done. I'll pop up the agenda here.
And I should note that the school department moved in on October 1st and have been in the building for this past week. And Ken and Melanie Bisbis have been doing a great job in organizing all of that.
Right. Excellent.
There we go.
I was
No,
telling
no
one of the-
complaints yet?
Yeah. Daily. Daily. What the heck is it?
Well, you want to get them out of the way for sure.
I was telling Ken that I really I can't get over how beautiful the building looks from the that front elevation. It's really terrific from Highland Avenue. Looks great.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so we're ironing out the kinks now. We got punch list items. I'm meeting with the project manager on Wednesday to review the punch list, and we got our CO. Some items of note that still to complete are the gates for the trash area, those site handrails we talked about, site signage, including the monument sign that's going to be down by Highland Ave and the graphic that's going where the old clock was. We've got the main entry. It's not the slate steps, not granite. At the main entry as you come in the lobby, they still got those to do. As I said, the furniture installs completed. A few items were missing and on order, and we've changed some of the things. So we're getting some additional filing cabinets, and we ended up creating a new office. So we're purchasing the model furniture that they had supplied us that was over at Hillside. They're going to be bringing that over, and I'll get that set up for Pam, our lead, the head of accounting. And I've plunked myself in one of the accounting offices temporarily until we get pretty much through this. Getting most of the punch list done and the rest of the work completed. So any questions on the progress, the move, the furniture, what have you?
Trash doors, when do you expect those to be done?
Don't know, George. We haven't even ordered them yet because the price we received was so ridiculous.
Yeah,
We're pricing it with other suppliers that O'Connor has worked with. So right now it's open. Doesn't look bad, but we want to get the gates on there sooner rather than later.
and when should we,
I'm
when
not
should we
paying
have the sign up?
40,000. I'm not paying 40,000 for them either.
Yeah. And when should we have the front sign up?
That is almost done. So as soon as they finish the paint, there was some questions in the paint colors. So I would expect to see that within the next week to 10 days. Anything else?
We're going to talk about contingency in terms of
Yes,
what's left.
we can do that certainly. Well, you brought it up. We'll start with that right now. Let me get the budget up. Well, actually, yeah. All right, hang on. We'll go this route. Okay. So we'll handle the ACL because I can do the ACL from here. We can handle the ACL and the contingency from the same screen here. So the trash doors and the site railings, these are the worst case numbers. I don't expect them to come in at this, but I'm carrying this because this is a firm price we have through our filed subbid contractors, but they're ridiculous numbers, so I'm not anticipating paying this much for them. We have the entry posts at the north portico. We've got temporary posts on here now that they were special ordered to contain the intercom, the door opener, and the card access reader, both on the west side and the east side of the north portico. And then we've got some pavers that the building inspector asked us to put off of the south portico that we'll see as a change order all more than likely next month. So any questions about the ACL?
No, not here.
All right, so there's our contingency balance right now. We're reviewing with the IT folks. They've got roughly 80,000 left in their budgets. They need a little under 200,000 for the third floor conference rooms. So we told them today that they can scoop 120 out of the current contingency, which would bring us down to about a little over 150,000, which I'm perfectly comfortable with having accounted for future costs. I'm sure there'll be other odds and ends that pop up, but I'm comfortable with transferring 120,000 to them so that they can get the equipment they need for the third floor conference room and be able to put that to the use with which it's intended. So any questions there with the contingency? All right, we'll go back to the agenda because I think, Richard, we can go to the voting items.
Okay, excellent. All right, we'll do the change orders first. Ken, is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we have one change order for Emery Grover. I think we've talked about everything. Is there anything else we need to highlight on this list, Ken?
No, there's a couple of new things on here, but they don't amount to much. The last five I think are new. You haven't seen those before. Keeping in mind that the IT changes and the electrical furniture AV revisions actually were paid for out of the IT budget. So we're kind of giving them 120,000 back, but be that as it may, this didn't affect those two items didn't affect the contingency.
Okay.
So out of that 93,000, 25 of it is, or 15 of it, whatever that, if I do my math right, 15 of it really comes out of the contingency, but there's nothing wacky there. But anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the motion. That's a change order number 18 for Emery Grover. This is from M. O'Connor Contracting. The chair will move that the committee approve the change order from M. O'Connor Contracting in the amount of $93,559.87. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, and we will proceed then to the Emery Grover invoices.
Well, actually, Rich, if I
sorry.
could jump in.
Yeah.
I sent out a DCAM eval for
Yeah.
M. O'Connor. We need to vote on that.
Okay,
Let me see if I can find that here somewhere in the package. See. Meeting. Come on. Where is it? Yeah, there. Everyone see that?
still seeing the agenda.
Yeah, but this one's got the attachments to it, so.
Oh, okay.
All All right, so this is for M. O'Connor, a general contractor. Their final score was 91. They scored very high in all categories. If anyone has particular questions, I'd be happy to go through it, but just want to get approval. They're anxious to get our eval into DCAM as they're applying for multiple projects across the state, and good DCAM eval helps them out tremendously, and I would wholeheartedly recommend them to anybody who's looking to hire them as a contractor.
And perhaps you could put it into perspective. I think I saw the average or the final score was 91, I believe.
Yep.
Tell us, how does that compare with the norm, what we usually see? That good, same, whatever?
It's pretty good. And Hank and I were talking about it today, and I think his recollection is that the highest score we've ever given a contractor is somewhere in the 93 to 95 range. So they right up there near the top. Consigli was in this same range in public safety. I can't speak to others that, other contractors we use on projects that I haven't been involved with, but this is a very good score, and I'd be surprised if too many exceed that by anything more than a point or two.
And we have been extremely happy with the team, particularly the site supervisor. Very experienced, knew how to get stuff done, and really kept the project moving.
With our experience on a number of other projects, I would say that's a good rating.
Excellent, great.
I would defer to your experience on that, George.
Yeah, we've had some that I don't want to tell you what the numbers were. So
Well, I've certainly given some bad scores on subcontractors, but but on GCs, yes.
Well, it's interesting. O'Connor has been a contractor that we've looked at before, but we never hired them to do anything except this project, which is good because it's another contractor that we've discovered is good.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm very pleased. Yeah.
Yep, and I would be happy to see them apply for any of our future projects. Absolutely.
Well, that's good. That's a glowing recommendation. That's terrific.
Yep.
I see Roy has his hand up.
Oh, yes, Roy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm well trained on these things to always raise my hand. I'm in so many meetings a day.
Thank you.
Number 7, you gave it an average, and I thought that was surprising with everything you've said. I'm just curious, do we think that's too low, or is that right?
No, the reason why I marked that down, Roy, is they tended to be a little slow with their change orders and their pricing for PCOs. So that's why I knocked them down a couple of points. It would have normally been a 14, but given the choice, I might have given them a 13, but that's not a choice. So
All right, thanks. I just was curious. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you, Roy. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments for Ken or Hank regarding this evaluation? Okay, at that, I guess we will then move to, the chair will move that the DCAM evaluation as presented to the committee for M. O'Connor Contracting be approved by the committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Any discussion?
Yes, real quick, Mr.
Yes, go
Chair.
ahead. Go ahead, Rob.
Thank you. This is my first time experiencing this part of a discussion on a project, so fascinating. What are the metrics? Is it an official form, or is it just our gut?
Yeah, what you see here, Bob, I did not include the minutia on the one of the first pages, project cost, things of that. This is just the meat of the eval, but this is what will go to both the contractor and DCAM. This is what I'll submit to them.
Ken,
Thank you,
we're
Ken.
not,
I don't
we're
see
not
it
seeing
still.
it. Can you scroll down to it, Ken?
Oh, I'm on it now. It says evaluation.
Not on our screen. You're not.
Yeah,
You're
not
okay.
on
All
our
right.
screen.
All right, because it says. Oh, it
You
says,
might be displaying the old. You may not have switched the view, or
I might have. Yep. How's that?
No,
nothing.
Still nothing.
there we go. Keep going.
No, this is the old one. I've got to find, all right, so hang on. Let's go back to square
So
one.
Bob, while he's bringing that up, DCAM has online evaluation forms that we have to fill in, both for designers and for contractors, and for all the filed sub bidders. And
Can you see it now?
yep,
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So this is the form, Bob. There's a page in front of this that has, like I said, contract amount, contract dates, stuff like that.
Yep.
And then you've got these eval questions, and then there's a signature page at the end that both Richard and I will sign. So Richard, when you come to sign all the other documents, Catherine will have this, and you can sign it in the appropriate place, and then I can get it distributed.
Terrific.
Great. Thanks, Ken.
You're welcome, Bob.
Great. Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. All right, we'll then proceed, Ken, to the invoices.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, there's a few invoices to take care of with respect to the Emery Grover project. The first is M. O'Connor Contracting Requisition Number 22 for services through September 2024. And the
Richard, if I could just note, I pulled the wrong number off of the AIA form. So the amount that's listed here on the screen is not correct. It's that $1.4 million number
Right.
that you have.
Yep. Okay, great. So the chair will move that the committee approve the requisition for payment from M. O'Connor Contracting, that's requisition number 2022 rather, through September 2024. That's in the amount of $1,426,871,085. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye.
What percentage have we paid them in the contract? About,
Oh, pretty much. Yeah, actually, the number that you see there, George,
yeah,
is what we have left to pay.
okay.
Except
It was
with the
highlighted.
addition of the change order, that'll increase it.
Correct. Yeah, so it'll be 108, roughly 185, 186,000 left to pay, including the current change order.
and we have released the majority of the retainage with this invoice.
Do we have any subs that are troublesome that we're holding funds on?
Not that it's troublesome. The only issue we're having right now is trying to get some of the subs back for punch list stuff, because they've picked up their crews, they're off doing other projects. So trying to get a couple of the subs, the painter in particular, has been difficult. We may have to do some after hours or Saturday work with them, but I'll need to work that out with the school admin folks.
So you're holding enough for things like that?
Oh yeah, no, that hasn't even been requisitioned yet, George. So
Okay.
All right, we'll proceed then to the next invoice, which is for BH+A, the architects. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from BH+A. That's for August 2024, Emery Grover PSS number 12. That's in the amount of $18,334.00. That's out of the architect's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. You. Okay, next we have, the chair will move that the committee approve the invoice from RG Vanderweil. That's for August 2024 commissioning services in the amount of $2,328.00 out of the miscellaneous budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George, Roy,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. We now have a series of invoices, which I will read out, and then we'll make a motion based on that combined set of invoices. We have three F&E invoices from Red Thread. These are in the amount of $382,299.71. Second invoice is for $68,518.96. And the third is for $32,036.56, right, excuse me. We also have two other invoices, one from Design Tex, that's for fabric for bench. Maybe, Ken, you could explain what that is? Fabric for bench?
I can explain that.
Oh, okay.
We got a quote from Red Thread to do a curved bench seat cushion for over $4,000. The architect said that's crazy. We agreed, and so we're sourcing that fabric independently, and we're going to a local the Needham upholstery store to get it fabricated for less than half the price.
Excellent. Okay. So that is the amount, that Design Tex invoice for fabric for bench is the amount of $584.43 out of the FF&E budget. And the final item is WB Mason waste baskets in the amount of $550.80 FF&E budget for a grand total of $483,990.45 out of the FF&E budget. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoices as most recently read to you from Red Thread, Design Tex, and WB Mason, all out of the FF&E budget for $483,990.45. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion?
Question.
Yeah.
What do we have? Have we included all the furniture in this, or is there still furniture left to purchase?
There's,
That's it.
we held 10,000 out of this for Red Thread's punch list. And we have an additional PO out there for 15,000 for some of the additional stuff we bought or found that we needed after we had sort of moved all the furniture in.
Okay, so there's still some to go.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So any other questions or comments from the committee? So again, this is-
One last one. I'm sorry, I should have asked it before. In terms of FF&E budget, I know you have those couple of items we just mentioned, but what do you have left in the FF&E budget?
Nothing.
Total.
We've actually gone over it.
So you're gonna have to take something out of another budget item and,
Correct. We've taken
Over the-
it from another, we've taken it mostly from the, actually the moving budget covered a lot of it because we were well under in the moving line items, so.
okay. But we're
But it's all-
essentially,
It's all accounted for, so you won't see an effect on the contingency. It's already been factored in.
so in essence, we've finished paying for everything except what you mentioned that's left.
Correct.
We're done with it.
Yep.
Okay,
okay, great. All right, so the motion then, just as a reminder, the aggregate amount is $483,990.45 out of the FF&E budget. Motion has been made and seconded. So if no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Are there any other discussion items with respect to Emery Grover before we move on to our next agenda item?
I'll just say that the superintendent is looking for a time, probably in November, to have an open house. Date hasn't been settled. The building is open. You can wander in if you're interested, or wander around. And if the committee wants a detailed tour, we can arrange that as well.
I think that would be a good idea to see the populated, shall we say, office. I think it would be very helpful. Plus, we haven't seen the plaque, which is always a fun thing to do.
That is now mounted.
Excellent. Okay. Terrific. Great. Yeah. So Hank, if you and I can work on that, we'll come up with a date that
Okay.
works. Great. Okay. There's no other comments or questions. We can proceed on to the RTU replacement for Elliott and Broadmeadow.
All right. The work is essentially done. They're still trying to work through some controls issues, but for the most part, we're done over there, and we're trying to get some of the last minute items out of the way. So that's really it. Things went for the most part fairly smoothly. Like I said, we still have some control issues that we're trying to work through, but we had one change order that was relatively minor for some unforeseen conditions, and other than that, we're in pretty good shape.
And just for the record, we're talking about Elliott as having been complete.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Broadmeadow, we're going through the design work on that. It looks like we're gonna try and redo the roof in the areas. We did roof cores, found some wet areas, and after walking through it with Gail, the engineer on the project, and Hank Barry and I walked around with them the other day, and it looks like it makes sense since the air handling units are in distinct areas of the roof. It makes sense to look in completely replacing those areas of the roof. But we'll reserve judgment until we finally get pricing to see whether it's too rich for our blood or not, or whether we go with just the repair work that was originally specified. But I'm meeting the project engineer out there Thursday to review all that with them. It will require some duct modifications because two of the units have, ductwork that comes out of the sides of the units as opposed to straight through the roof like all of them do at Elliott. And it will require some modifying of the ductwork to raise that up if we do in fact replace the roofs underneath it, because those will have to come up about 5 or 6 inches to accommodate the additional insulation that will be required to meet the code if we replace the roofs.
And we were fortunate in that we continue to have contingency well north of $1 million. And as you may recall, for Broadmeadow, we rejected all of the roofing filed sub-bids. Once we get the updated drawings from Gail, we will have to go through a rebid on that portion of the work. And we'll be talking to the principal about timing, as it will likely have to either start before or continue. The re-roofing would likely be done after the units are placed on the roof deck. And some of that work may drag into the school year.
My opinion is that if we're going to do repair work versus replacing that roof section, I think you're going to be better off in the long run if you've got the funds, replace the roof section. Even though there's a little bit more work, I think it's much more prone to be watertight.
And I think,
especially given the age of those roofs.
That's right.
25, Barry?
Yep,
The roof is
about
over-
25 years old.
So they would need to be replaced soon anyway.
Right.
And
So if you can do some of it now while you're up there, I
And
think
they're,
it's a good
they're
idea.
they're well-defined areas, so it lends itself to replacing the whole area without having to go like halfway across the roof or something like that. So it works out well in that regard too.
Just for whatever that opinion's worth, but I think it's a good thing to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments, questions regarding the Elliott and Broad Meadow projects before we head to the invoices? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the invoices. The chair will move that the requisition for payment from Enterprise Equipment Company, requisition number 11 through September 2024 service in the amount of $64,429.00 out of the general contractor's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second,
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Right?
Roy,
aye,
Anna's not here. Barry's here. Barry? Okay, thank you. And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay. There are two invoices from GGD Consulting Engineers. The chair will move that the committee approve the following invoices for payment from GGD Consulting Engineers. August 2024 services for Broad Meadow in the amount of $4,000 even. And August 2024 services for Elliott in the amount of $4,698.12, both out of the designer budget for a total of $8,598.12. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Stuart. Is there discussion on that motion? Questions or comments?
is that 8,698?
Sorry, $8,698.12, yes. And that's the aggregate of the two invoices. Okay, there are no questions, I take it, so we will proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
aye,
Mary,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. And we have one final invoice for the Broad Meadow and Elliott project. This is, the chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from NV5 as for September Elliott commissioning in the amount of $2,840.40. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Stuart. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
aye,
and Barry.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And I think that is it for the Broad Meadow and Elliott invoices. Are there any other concluding comments, wrap-up questions, comments regarding those two projects? Okay. Hearing none, we can then proceed to the next item on the agenda. We're running just a few minutes late, but we're doing well. And that will be the Pollard renovation. Now, Roy is not here, but sorry, Roy is here, sorry. Wait,
Erwin
pardon,
has
Erwin
not
is not
joined
here.
us yet.
Erwin is not here, sorry. So, and we have the user reps have not been appointed yet. So, Catherine, how are we doing for a quorum?
We
I
don't
think
have
we
a quorum.
still have a quorum.
We
We
do?
have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have got 5 people.
Perfect, okay,
We have a quorum.
okay, excellent.
Who are the 5? We have 5?
Yes, 5 out of 7.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. So with that, I'll pass the microphone over to Hank.
So after a long wait, we are finally moving forward. I sent a package to you, and I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see.
By the way, while you're calling that up, I'd like to welcome Elisa and Tamatha. Is it Tamatha or Tamatha?
It's Tamatha.
Tamatha, thank you. Yeah.
You're
Well, welcome
welcome.
both of you.
Thanks.
So they will be the voting members once appointed officially by the school committee as part of the school building committee. And just to bring you up to date, this is the overview of the MSBA process. As we had previously discussed, the town was invited into the eligibility period. We were notified in December, but we weren't formally accepted into it until April 1st of this year. And we were given 270 days to go through that full eligibility process. We have completed all of those. We've checked all those boxes. The initial compliance certification, the school building committee has been organized. The educational profile and the enrollment process has been completed with the MSBA. Barry worked hard on the maintenance submission, which proves that Needham does a very good job of maintaining its buildings. And we demonstrated to them that our capital planning documents through the master plan identified the Pollard project as our priority. Last May, the local authorization for the feasibility funding was approved by town meeting. And so now what we are doing is voting. We will be asking tonight to have the committee vote approval for the chair of the PPPC, Richard, to sign the feasibility study agreement along with the town manager. And then that will be submitted to the MSBA. And this group of people over here, that's the MSBA board. We are on their agenda for October 30th for the approval of this project to enable us to move on to the next phase, which would be Module 2, Module 3 being the feasibility study, Module 4 being the schematic design, and then eventually ending up at funding the project, hopefully by override vote in November of 2026. That's sort of the broad overview of where we are today. We will be working within the MSBA process. And every time you see that group of people, that means we need a board, MSBA board approval. And then there are committee approvals that occur along that process as well. And I also distributed to the committee as attachments to what was sent around the actual text of the feasibility study agreement. I'll note that the appendices indicated the reimbursement rate, which currently is a 35.42%, but likely to increase because there are some, I'll call them bonus reimbursement rate points that we will likely earn for building maintenance and hopefully green building technologies. In that regard, where Sunita Williams had to be a LEED silver building in order to get those added environmental points, we're likely to have to go for LEED gold to get an equivalent amount of reimbursement for the Pollard project.
I think at a very high level, What's the difference between gold and silver level?
It's well, I guess technically it's about 20 points in their rating system. And between 15 and 20. And we also get added benefit if we can enhance indoor air quality, which is a very important issue in any building, but particularly in schools. So these will be points that we bring up and require of the design team, that we will, when we put out the RFQ, request for qualifications of the design team, we will want to make sure that they have experience in designing this type of school, and in meeting those requirements for LEED Gold. And there are a couple other systems, FiOS, Passive House. We could be taking that route alternately, but we'll have all of those detailed discussions once we get into the selecting the team and then working with the team.
From that perspective, Hank, is how difficult is the step between silver and gold? We haven't had too much difficulty with silver so far, but how difficult is it to take that next step? And does it require solar panels as part of the project?
That will be one attribute that we will definitely be looking at. We'll also be looking at ground source heat pumps and or air source heat pumps.
Yeah.
As you know, the town has now adopted the specialized opt-in code, and that technically is one of the requirements in order to get that additional green energy. So just meeting that specialized opt-in code means that we have to go through steps today that we didn't have to do on Sunita Williams.
Right.
And the baseline for MSBA projects, a town coming in and saying, well, I'm not going to go for the bells and whistles, they have to meet LEED Silver. That's the baseline requirement now. So the MSBA has slowly been jacking up those requirements for all districts across the Commonwealth to, in part, achieve the sustainability goals and the climate action plan that the state has put forward, targeting 2050. And Tamitha, I hope we get a lot of involvement from the climate action study group, or whatever they call themselves, sustainability group, as we go through this process. Because we look like Sunita Williams, we will be looking to make the building into a teaching tool as well. So that's the overview of the MSBA process. In Module 2, we will also have to get our team, building design and construction team, appointed as the owner's project manager. We will be supplementing our forces with at least one more senior project manager, and we will be going out to RFQ eventually for a cost estimator to assist us through that early phase. And as you may recall in earlier discussions, by the time we get to schematic design, we will likely be bringing on a construction manager at risk. So we have a contractor to assist us looking at the logistic plan in terms of phase construction on the site. Unless somebody has come up with a greenfield site elsewhere in town where we can build a whole new building and move into it, we will be looking toward the existing Pollard site to build the new Pollard building. And Tamitha, so you are aware, as we're going through module 3 and feasibility, we will have to look at both options of keeping 7th and 8th grade on the site and 6th grade over at High Rock versus combining all 3 grades at Pollard. So that is one step in the process. We'll be looking at total demolition and total new construction, and we will be looking at numerous variations of addition and renovation. So we have a long path to go before we get to the end of this.
Couple of questions, if I could.
Yep.
First question relates to my concern about schedule. And when is it appropriate to have discussions with MSBA about using a schedule that might be more aggressive than theirs? And that's the first question. The second question is, maybe I didn't hear the introduction to the 2 additional people on the committee, but could someone identify, or could they mention who they are and what they do, so we're aware of that?
Okay.
Would you like to start and then?
Oh, you want me to?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we could start by telling them what we do or who we are, and then they could tell us who they are.
Okay.
That would be helpful since we're going to work together. You want me to start?
Go ahead, George.
My name is George Kent, and I'm a registered professional engineer. Been on the committee since its inception, and I'm the troublemaker that asks a lot of questions.
We like that. And I'm Richard Cream. You've heard enough from me already. I'm chair of the committee this year, and I've been on the committee since 2017, I believe, and appointed by the appointing authority, and been enjoying it. Prior to this this particular round of town service, I was on the finance committee for 12 years, served as chair 1 year, and I've been a town meeting member for 30 plus years now. So
I'm Roy Schiffelity. I'll just jump in.
Yep.
And I don't know how long I've been on the committee, but I'm around.
And Roy, you're an educator?
I work in higher education, yes, I do. And I'm an educator, yes.
And a lot of work in your background involving development, especially with regard to colleges, right?
Yeah, I've overseen construction and projects and all of those things as well. So that's the connection to really being on this group.
Hi, I'm Erwin Silverstein. I'm a professional engineer and an environmental engineer. I originally was on the study committee with George back in the 18th century when this committee came about. I was involved with the committee as a representative from the school committee, and I've been a member of the committee since about 20 years ago. Wow.
Long time.
Long time. It's
And-
nice to meet you all.
And Erwin, you're a teacher?
Yes, that's
formerly-
why I'm late. I was just teaching a chemistry course at Mass Bay Community College, and I've taught high school and at Northeastern and Tufts University.
Stuart.
Hi, Stuart Chandler. I've been on the committee for a number of years, the designee for Kate. And my background is more technology and major project management. So I'm the oddball of the group, but love asking the questions and very keen on what we've been doing over the years with buildings.
Stuart, not as odd as I am, because I'm the attorney member of the group. So- Bob.
Hi, Tamitha and Elisa. Welcome. I'm the new guy on the committee. I'm Bob Dermody. Less than a year, I think, although I transitioned from the Community Preservation Committee, which helped get the funding for this project. So I'm kind of happy to be on that line. I've served on the Design Review Board as well, town meeting member, and I'm an architect and a professor of architecture at Roger Williams University, and a proud graduate of Pollard.
Tamitha, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Tamitha Bibbo. I'm actually the principal of Pollard Middle School. It's my 11th year as the principal at Pollard. I've worked with a few of you before, though, because I was the assistant principal at Needham High School when we were doing the construction there and did the new build and reopened that. So I remember a few folks from that time. And yeah, I'm here to serve as the principal and excited for the project. And I teach some college courses as well. So I appreciate that, Erwin. I have to teach tomorrow night.
And you recently received your doctorate.
I did a few years, yeah, 2022. Yes, from Boston College. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elisa Scattrud. I am on the school committee, just about through halfway through my 3rd year. I will be pulling my papers in January to run again. I also have a master's in public administration, which I have never used professionally. I have only used it in service opportunities like school committee. The rest of the time, I've had a long career in finance and currently work as a financial planner for a local firm here in town. And just really, I've been keeping tabs over the past year on many of your meetings and just really excited to officially be able to vote, be on a team where I can have a vote. So excited for the Pollard project.
And I should note that we do also have several non-voting members of the school building committee. We have made the submittal of that list to the MSBA. I believe it's approved. Barry DuLong will be a non-voting member. John Connolly from the Finance Committee will be a non-voting member. But we greatly appreciate all of their input as we go through what will probably be the largest, highest value public building project the town has ever done. So all of your contributions are welcome and greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Thank you for that, guys.
And Richard, we do have one voting motion. And shall I bring that up?
Yes, I'm going to ask, because I am the subject or one of the subjects of that motion. I think I'm going to ask that the committee, a committee member move it, and then we'll ask someone else to second it.
So just a question. So this I read it. I'm happy to make the motion if need be. This is just to give you the authority from the committee, Richard, right? In terms of going and signing the document. We haven't done this one before, have we?
Oh, we did this on Sunita Williams.
Yeah,
we did. Okay.
And it was a requirement as one of the submissions to the MSBA.
Right.
And also the town council wrote a separate letter, which was included in your package, identifying that by the town bylaws, the Permanent Public Building Committee and the town manager have the authority to sign the feasibility study agreement.
Yeah, because what just threw me off, I don't want to belabor it, but it just, I felt that we aren't the funding committee, it's the town that's the funding committee through the approval of the town meeting. That's what threw me off, but I can take that offline. But
yeah.
I think in the interest of what we're trying to accomplish here, I would move as written in front of us and read by hopefully everybody, to move to give Richard the authorization to execute. Do you want me to read this out, or do you have this, Catherine? You have this, right?
I have this, yes.
Is that suitable, or do I need to read this out in the recording?
It doesn't hurt. I can read it.
Okay, I'll do it. So I will move the motion regarding the Pollard Middle School project. Move and vote that the Permanent Public Building Committee approve project funding agreement for the Pollard Middle School project, and Richard Cream, chairman of the Permanent Public Building Committee, of the town of Needham is authorized to execute and deliver the project funding agreement and to make final and binding decisions with respect to the proposed project on behalf of the Permanent Public Building Committee of the town of Needham.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you, Erwin. Discussion on.
Just a comment, we've done this on every MSBA project.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of a formality. I think I was involved with
Yeah, you were Sunita prior. Yeah.
all the ones prior to that. So it's pretty normal. And Richard can't do anything without us approving it anyway, so we'll keep him out of trouble.
Thank you. Appreciate the vote of confidence.
It's okay. We'll make sure we got your back.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other comments or questions before we move to the motion and the vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
All right,
Roy. Oh, you're on mute, Roy.
I couldn't find the unmute.
no worries.
Yeah, aye.
Thank you. Erwin.
Aye.
And unfortunately, our voting members, our user reps cannot vote just yet, but we'll certainly include you in the future. But anyway, we think we know what your sentiment would be anyway. But I will vote as chair in the affirmative as well. So that's a unanimous vote, and the captain will still record.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll get this notarized. Catherine will sign it tomorrow and we'll send it off to MSBA along with all the other required documents.
Excellent. Milestone.
my second question,
Yeah, go ahead, George.
did we forget my second question?
I'm sorry, what was your second
Oh,
question?
yeah. My second question was, when is the appropriate time for us to start discussions with MSBA to determine whether or not the schedule is flexible, or do we have to, I mean, they'll say we have to abide by their schedule, but we know that that's not really true if we have a better idea and can show them that that can be done. So my question is, when do we have the opportunity to discuss that?
Well, we already have initiated that discussion in the fact that we have 270 days to make this submittal, and we're actually submitting it within 90 days. And we are, if we can expedite the approval of the OPM, then we will try to get on their agenda ASAP for the selection of the designer. My goal is to try to get the designer selected by January of next year. Now that's pushing it because we have to go through their approval process, and we have to go through the required advertising for designer. But
Right.
we're attempting to get through those two phases as rapidly as possible. And if we can get onto that schedule, then we should meet the schedule that we had outlined in the beginning to get to the override vote by November of 2026.
Yeah. For everyone's benefit in the meeting, that's one of the areas that if we can find a way to improve the schedule of the project, we can find a way to improve the cost, which is critically important, especially on this project. And we did it before at Sunita Williams and was very successful at it, which we're very proud of as a team. And I think anyway, based on what I've seen, that there's a possibility to do that here. If we strictly accept the schedule of MSBA, then it's probably going to cost more money than it needs to. So from that point of view, I think whatever discussions we can have that are even formal discussions, ad hoc discussions with the MSBA, I think some discussions ought to take place, letting them know what our intent is, at least formally.
Formally, yes, and we have shared with them our preliminary schedule. We were held back a little bit by being grouped into the second round of approved people to go into the or towns to go into the eligibility stage, but they're aware that we are trying to move this forward rapidly. And
Okay.
Mary Piketty, as you know, is now the head of the MSBA, and she's a town resident. So she, I think, reads the local newspapers too.
Yep. And she's actually a good friend when it comes to, I mean, she's, professional and so forth, but being a town resident, I think she understands what we're trying to accomplish. And she knows that we know what we're doing and could really help them as well. It's better for them and better for the town.
Yep. I think we all have a common goal there.
Yep. Okay, good.
All right, anything else regarding Pollard before we move on, Hank?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Terrific, great, thank you. All right, we'll next move on to the library phase 1 project, schematic design updates and invoice. And for that, I'll pass the microphone on to Hank.
Yes, and I distributed a set of slides prepared by UTEAL. Nicole is with us this evening, and she will be walking us through that presentation. A lot of it, for those of you who were with us last time, will be just a quick review of where the design is today. There are a few members here who did not see this previously, so Nicole, maybe you can go through those fairly rapidly. The new information that we'll be sharing with you tonight is related to the cost estimate, where we are in that, and the project budget. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to you, Nicole.
Sounds great. Thanks, Hank. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Ramey, and I'm the project manager from UTEAL for the public library renovation. And as Hank mentioned, I think I met most of you last month when we reviewed the progress for this project. And actually, let me share my screen. Yeah, well, I'll run through kind of what we looked at last time, and then we'll get to the new information regarding the estimates and the budget. So currently we are here at the end of schematic design and the beginning of design development. We're on schedule to complete our design documents and have bids in hand for the town meeting next spring. And so to recap, we're here, this is the over the high level layout of the space that we priced for SD. The more vibrant spaces are located here towards the front of the space where there's heavier foot traffic, and then the quieter, more focused spaces are located near the back. We're keeping this glass wall that is currently dividing the existing teen space from the rest of the library, and that will now be creating a partition between the quiet space and the rest of the teen room. And we're also creating a new full height partition around the perimeter of our space, which will provide acoustic separation and will also have glass to allow light to permeate from the windows on the south facade into the rest of the library space. Just for reference, for this direction here is north. One change from the concept stage was that we introduced an additional circulation path here on the south side of the stair. This was an earlier design proposal where we had introduced this path, but we hadn't yet recaptured any space to make up for it. In order to fit in the entire library collection, we looked at pushing out this wall to recapture an almost equivalent amount of space. And that will lead us to the design that we ultimately ended up pricing for SD. And then I'll also point out that this blue dash line just represents the construction barrier, which we assumed for the purposes of SD pricing, that we would have a full height construction barrier to isolate the dust and the noise from the construction process. And it would be a little bit outside of our space in order to allow for some of the modifications to the mechanical systems above the ceiling that may need to happen a little bit outside of our actual construction zone. So this is the final plan that we looked at and that we priced during SD. And some calculations just showing that we're accommodating the entire collection for the teens within this space. And then I'll just point out that a high priority for this project is ensuring thermal comfort throughout the space. That's a particular challenge in this corner where there's a large expanse of west facing and south facing glass. So some of the alternates that we priced are in relation to ensuring that we can achieve the desired level of thermal comfort in that zone. Some of the alternates we looked at included some interior screening to mitigate glare, as well as to protect occupants from direct solar radiation. And then we're looking at a variety of different furniture options throughout this space to provide different types of seating in the various zones within the teen space. So that was a quick recap, and let me know of any questions, but I'll just jump right into the new stuff, which is in relation to the budget. So this is the FF&E estimate, which we put together for this phase. The main difference between these numbers and what was priced during the concept phase is in relation to the shelving. At this point in time, we're assuming all new shelving. We are still optimistic that we may be able to reutilize some of the library's existing shelving systems. But at this time, we don't have enough data on exactly what savings that might entail in order to kind of count that into our estimate at this stage. So during DD, we're planning to reach out to several manufacturers and kind of get a better handle on what savings might come from, you know, we'd still have to take apart the existing library shelves, store them, potentially modify the height of some of the standards, maybe paint them, and then reinstall them with new wood surrounds. So we'll have to do a little more digging to kind of find out exactly what savings might come from that process. And then this spreadsheet is something that David Billings put together, comparing Ilana's pricing to A.M. Fogarty's, and then taking the average of the two. Hi, Erwin, I see you have a question.
Yes, in the previous slide, is the math correct on the subtotal? Is it the sum of those three items?
This is the subtotal. Oh, you're right. It does look like there's a little bit of an error there. I'll correct that and send out the update.
Yeah, it looks like it might just be the first two and not the equipment.
Okay, you're right. I will double check that now.
Okay, great, thank you.
Let's see. So, yeah, so this is the average between the two estimates from Ilana and A.M. Fogarty, and this average number is what you see in the budget spreadsheet on the forthcoming pages.
Can you enlarge that a little bit, just so we can zoom in on it?
Let's see.
I'll just point out that there are differences of opinions between the two cost estimators, which I think it led to a healthy discussion. And the question as to ultimately comes down to how many bidders we will get on this project. It's in the range of things for medium-sized companies. It's not a huge project. So having $200,000 difference out of 1.6 million is a fairly large discrepancy, but I do think it's trying to emphasize to us that the bidding market can vary quite a bit. And if we get serious competitive bids, then we might be at the lower number. And if we only get 1 or 2 bids, we might be at the higher number. And any other questions about that? Nicole, should we go to the,
Yeah, so this slide is referencing some of the alternates that we priced in relation to thermal comfort. We looked at some options for interior screening, both within the quiet study space and then also around the lounge for a combination of purposes of protecting from direct sunlight and then also creating some enclosure within the lounge space. For the mechanical systems, we looked at a variety of upgrades. Our baseline does include replacing 1 FCU and upsizing that FCU. And then some of the other upgrades would involve replacing the other FCUs within the space that are near the end of their useful life, replacing the ductwork, and a couple of other items that would improve the mechanical systems within that space. And then the third option we looked at was some exterior shading around the west facade and south facade of the quiet study area. After reviewing the price tag on that and also just discussing further some of the both structural and design efforts that would be required to kind of flesh that out, it doesn't feel like this would be kind of worth the cost wouldn't have enough benefit to justify the third item. So in our the budget assessment, we are looking at not wholesale accepting these 2 prices, but looking at some amount of interior screening and some amount of mechanical upgrade in combination to mitigate some of those thermal comfort issues. And you'll see that in a line item on the next page. And so I'll let Hank go into some detail on this, but this is bringing in the average between the 2 cost estimates as well as the furniture budget, which we'll double check that number, and looking at that in relation to the overall budget. And I'll let Hank kind of go into more detail on this side.
Yeah, so we had from the feasibility study a base construction cost of 1.8 million. And then we're carrying 270,000 in contingency. When we shift to the average reconciled schematic design, the construction cost estimate has gone down by about 200,000, but the FF&E has gone up by a little more than that. And those are the 2 major shifts in that budget line. And as Nicole was describing, we will be looking more closely at the ability to reuse some of that existing shelving, because that's the main driver of that close to $400,000 cost in the FF&E line. We're carrying, we continue to carry some additional amounts, both for the alternates for interior comfort, which could be a combination of HVAC and interior screening. But until we get through design development, we won't really get a handle on how much that costs. In our initial discussion with town manager, we recommended that in the capital improvement plan and for the warrant article, upcoming warrant article in at Maytown meeting, that we would likely be increasing the budget by about $100,000. And so where previously the total project and the anticipated requested annual town meeting next May was 2.286 million, we're now looking at 2.386 million to accomplish that, because we did get 454,000 previously appropriated at last May town meeting, or annual town meeting. Greater definition on these numbers will come out of design development, but I think the general direction was approved by the committee at the last meeting. And Rob and Earhart, I think you're both comfortable with the direction. And we will also be presenting this to the library trustees tomorrow evening. The same presentation. And then I guess I will finally note that we won't know exactly what the construction cost is until we get bids in hand. The target is to try to have bids in hand prior to Maytown meeting, to better understand at that point. But we will be doing cost checks both at the end of DD and at 80% construction documents. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I think all good, Hank. So.
Okay. So we'll direct the design team to proceed on into design development, and be back in touch with more detailed information later this year.
So this will be requested at Springtown meeting?
Springtown meeting, yes, correct. I should note that the library board may have some supplemental funding for FF&E and/or alternates, but that will be discussed with the board tomorrow evening. That gives us a little bit more latitude within these numbers.
I'll just respond to that and say that the board itself does not have funds.
Okay.
But there are various organizations connected to the library, including the library's various aid budgets that we can look at if necessary to cover gaps.
Like Friends of the Library, things like that?
Yes, Friends, Library Foundation. So there are some ways in which we can find opportunities to cover gaps. Rob, you can clarify how we're thinking, or how you've been thinking about this.
Yes, so there were probably 3 sources of additional funding if needed. The Friends and the Foundation, as Earhart mentioned, and then library state aid, which is received each year from the Commonwealth for the general use of the library. So over the course of the next 4 phases, and the teen room renovation is the first of 4, we are ready to step up and help to fill those gaps if they appear in budgets.
But we're not talking about a huge sum of money, are we? Talking under $100,000 kind of thing.
With the Friends, yes, they did a fundraiser in the spring of 2023 that raised some money for capital needs, and that's well under 100,000. The library state aid receives, or the library receives library state aid each year from the Commonwealth, so that's sort of a rolling source that might be available. Part of it is already used for operational expenses, and then the foundation has an endowment which normally they don't touch, but for these 4 phases with the capital needs, they may go there to help the library.
So in essence, we should plan on the budget that we have. And if we get some additional funds, then that's great. But from a practical point of view, I've understood in the past that the project should be funded, and we should ask for whatever it takes to do that. And if we need more for some reason, we can always ask for more from those groups, but it's not a lot of money usually.
That is our thinking.
Erwin, did you have a question? Oh, you're muted.
I saw the answer to my question. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds good so far.
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to elaborate on the response to George's question. When we talked about this during the study phase, the way we thought about it was we would ask for whatever is the estimate. And then if it turns out that for instance, when we're actually doing installation work, that the furniture we wanted is more expensive than we estimated, then that would be a good opportunity for library to find the funds to make sure we get that furniture rather than having to settle on something out of what we wanted to get at that stage.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
That's very helpful, Earhart. Thank you, and thank you, Rob. Other questions? If none, we do have
one invoice, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we'll proceed then to the the one invoice for the library renovation project. The chair will will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from Util Incorporated for August 2024 services in the amount of $15,965.00 out of the architect's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, George. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Erhart?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay. And I think that concludes our discussion of the library renovation project. Hank, is that correct?
That's
Nothing else?
correct. We have
Okay.
a couple other voting items.
Okay, great. So thank you, everyone who attended for the library project. You're welcome to stay on, or if not, that's okay too. It's in the hour of the lateness of the evening. We certainly, whatever we'd like to do is fine. Thank you again. Take care now. Okay. All right, we'll proceed then to the remaining invoices. One is for the DPW complex. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from Weston and Sampson. That's for August 2024 services in the amount of $34,236.20 from the designer budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, George. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll come to a vote, and this will be a roll call vote. Let's see, Stuart?
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
and Catherine, who else? Any user rep? No, I guess
No,
well, Barry. Is Barry?
Barry is, yes.
Yeah. Barry?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. And finally, we have invoice for the theater and sound sound and light improvements project. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from Hugh Shot for September 2024 services in the amount of $6,000 even, and that's out of the designer budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Erwin. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
and is Elisa, are you or Michael, are you user reps in this project? I can't recall offhand.
No, I think it's
No,
Anne,
And
Lee.
yeah, that's right. Yes, okay. All right. So I think well, I think that the motion carries anyway, based on the vote. So thank you very much for that. And we then come to, if there's no other discussion on those invoices or those projects, we can move on then to the PVBC other new business. The only item of which I'm aware, Hank, is the MSBA sponsored Westwood Elementary School tour, and perhaps you want to talk about that.
Yes, it's November 15th, which was a Friday. I forwarded that invite to all of you. It is a tour of the Pine Hill Elementary School in Westwood. They have just finished construction. It has ground source heat pumps. It has solar, and the intent, it's a half a day. It's the morning of that Friday, is to tour the school, be able to ask questions, see a building that has gone through a process similar to what we will be going through at Pollard. We had previously discussed looking for opportunities like this, and I thought it'd be beneficial if any committee members are available. You can sign up with the link that came from the MSBA. I suspect that they'll have some follow-on information. But I've gone through one school in Acton last year that had geothermal, solar. They were doing a PPA for solar over their parking lot. And so it's just interesting. It I think gives you a better opportunity to understand how those buildings work and understand what we're heading for. And also on that tour, Gabby Queenan, who's the sustainability manager, will be attending. Barry, I don't know if you're able to, but I think it's extremely helpful to figure out and to better understand how a new building like that will function. Because we'll be talking about a lot of those details as we go through the design for the Pollard project. So if you can join us, you can sign up and be welcome to attend. And it's one, I only see these opportunities come around like once a year. So if you can make it, I encourage you to do so.
And Hank, it might not be a bad idea too, for those who can't attend, if perhaps a carpool arrangement too, just to reduce the number of cars going down there, and if people can spend the entire half day there.
Yeah, I'm sure you can park at Emery Grover. We have a few spaces left every day.
I don't want to get one of those orange stickers.
Just don't drop anyone off at the elementary school or the preschool.
Okay.
And Richard, the other point that I wanted to make, I did get an email today from the maker of the sign that is to go in at the Welcome Needham sign is now complete, and we're coordinating with DPW about the installation. We should get that delivered to us within a week or so. And we'll stake that out. If you want to help us stake it out, you're welcome to do so. And hopefully it will get back in the ground before the year's end.
I will let the Exchange Club know as soon as if you have a date in mind, let me know, and I'll pass that along to the club.
Yeah, I'm coordinating with Paul Good.
Okay.
On all of this, so I suppose he can pass that on as well.
Right.
And once that's complete, I think we can close out the public safety project.
Very good. Excellent. It's wonderful. I don't have anything on a new business at the end. So anyone else?
I know the hour is getting late, but I think I should bring up one more thing if I could. I attended the training session on Monday evening. And everyone knows about that training session, right? And I was the only member from PVBC, but that's fine. I tried to represent us well. The comment that was made that I think reflects on us is, generally speaking, I think we're doing a pretty good job of meeting all the open meeting law requirements. But one area that I think might be a problem in the future, or has been a problem, might have been a problem in the past if we look back at it, is this section of the agenda. We tend to bring up some things on this section of the agenda, which are kind of ad hoc, and we put them at the end and say we're going to discuss them and so forth. I asked that question of both the town clerk and the town council, and the answer I got was, you really shouldn't do that. In other words, you should not raise any item on the agenda that hasn't been prepared ahead of time. So for example, I mean, obviously, if you're talking about a meeting at a school or a schedule of dates or things like that, that's fine. But when it comes to any other important items, like agenda items that are last minute additions, et cetera, they should not be discussed at the meeting, but they should be brought up as items that should be discussed at the next meeting, so that the agenda can be clarified ahead of time. Evidently, that's been a problem with some committees. We weren't flagged as a committee. In fact, no committees were flagged as it, but I think it's been a problem for some committees where they actually discuss agenda items that were not identified ahead of time, but were discussed at the meeting. And that's a violation of the open meeting law.
George, my recollection is that the standard is not reasonably anticipated within the 48-hour window. That's what that was what I'd always learned, that items that were not reasonably anticipated to be discussed within the 48-hour period between notice and the meeting. But
so that's an area I think we need to be a little sensitive to in the future. I look back at a few of our minutes, and I don't remember in the last few months any particular item that we violated the open meeting law on. But that was brought up as a point that was really important, that evidently some committees in town are violating, and have been pointed out in other towns by Inspector General as violations of the open meeting law. So from that point of view, I think as chair, I think you could just ask town council, and he'll go over it, and you can ask him questions about what you can add and what you shouldn't add and so forth. But that was a point that came up. That other than that, I think we're doing a fine job in terms of our minutes and getting them out there and making sure we identify the agenda and so forth. I know that they are cracking down, not our folks, but the Inspector General's office is cracking down. And I did a little investigation myself outside of that meeting, and I know of some towns that violate the open meeting law every month, or almost every meeting. And they're, talk about a terrible way to do things. There's some towns out there that are really going to be taken to task by the Inspector General for violations of the open meeting laws. And so they're, in general, the state is really cracking down in that area because there are a lot of bad actors out there in terms of that. Generally speaking, we're pretty good. So I just brought that up as one item that I saw that we might have a problem with if we're not careful.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We will take that under advisement. Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, as a point of information, the Climate Action Committee met tonight, and one of the things we talked about were the municipal sustainable building guidelines, which I think Gabby has presented to this group. And one of the things we kind of would like to take on is something which I can remember I tried to do a while ago through Green Eden, which is encouraging, recommending to the select board that they really consider giving this body the authority to really look more openly at life cycle costing and things beyond just the initial cost of a project. Because as I remind or let the committee know, most of them are new to this, is that this body, the PPBC, really doesn't have the authority to set stuff. This body does basically what it has been tasked to do by the select board and others. So it's something that I hope that we can work on as a Climate Action Committee to support the work here and all the great work that this group does, thinking about how to get more sustainable buildings built.
Isn't that, that's an area that I think is still part of our charter, isn't it? To look at efficient ways of, I mean, we've been doing this for years, and we've done everything from picking low E glass windows and insulating buildings, and we've been doing things that have been generally above what a lot of other people have been doing because we think it's just good design.
Right, it's good design, but we also are somewhat constrained by the fact that we're always looking at, what's the minimum budget you can do for a project.
Well,
and I think this group does all the right things, but the better direction and the better encouragement and support of the climate goals that the town has, this group can have from the select board to really aggressively look at these options, like the net zero buildings, I think would be helpful.
Oh, did you have a hand up before?
Yeah, it was what George was commenting about. I just wanted to pose some examples to illustrate. So what we did on the sign, to me, that would be permissible. But if we had something discussed an invoice on public safety that wasn't on the agenda, that wouldn't be permissible. Is that a fair way of illustrating examples?
To be nitpicky, I think that's correct. I think the town council would say, put it on your next agenda, but announce that it's going to be on the next agenda. But I don't look at it that way. I think that's being nitpicky about it. But I think that's the level of things that they're going to be encouraging.
So discussing the sign would be something we would have to.
No, we wouldn't have to do it on that.
Okay.
But things where you'd have to take a voting action or things like that, I think would be, or a new subject that somebody thought of that should be on the agenda, but hasn't been posted on the agenda.
Right.
And then you discuss an item on the agenda at the last minute without posting it ahead of time is a violation.
May I suggest then that if there are, like as tonight, for example, we had two invoices to which there was no agenda item attached. Perhaps the way to approach that is to have a miscellaneous invoices category on the agenda so that the public is informed that there could be other invoices that are considered at that for disposition at the announced meeting.
Or if you know ahead of time, find out how much time ahead do you have to post and another agenda item that you can put in there and say voting items for public safety, let's say, and identify that there will be discussion about that at the meeting. You may, I don't know what the time period is that you have to post that ahead of time, but I'm going to let you as chair look into what that is, and I'd suggest you ask those questions of town council. I thought a lot of it was nitpicky, but evidently they're cracking down on this sort of thing. And that was a pretty healthy subject of discussion at the meeting on Monday night.
I think in terms of workflow and these kinds of approvals, we recently have been having only one meeting per month. And that in terms of prompt payment of invoices can stretch things out, but I'd hate to have a separate meeting just to approve 2 invoices.
I agree, but there may be a way around it. That's why I'm saying I think in order to meet the spirit of the open meeting laws, we probably can figure out a way to do this ahead of time so that it can be acted upon. And that we don't have any intention to violate it, but.
Hank, I'll talk to you and Catherine offline. We'll talk
Yeah.
about how we can configure the agenda accordingly. Okay.
And currently our next meeting is the 22nd of this month, which is Tuesday, which is the day after the special town meeting. So at this point, I don't have any agenda items for that 22nd meeting in particular, which would mean that we'd be pushing to November 4th for our next meeting, if we don't have the one on the 22nd.
Right. Well, given the fact that I expect the Monday night town meeting to be a long meeting, I think we would almost welcome not meeting on Tuesday.
I will try to push things along, and it's been a fruitful meeting this evening. So thank you.
Okay, well, on that note, if there's no other new business, we will we'll proceed to our motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn from the committee?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Second, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Erwin. A discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Stuart?
Aye.
Thank you. Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Mr. Chair, if you
Yes.
have a moment,
Absolutely.
and Hank, maybe just something offline.
Yep.
A little new